Conversations. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining us once again. If you haven't, go ahead and get it out the way. Hit the subscribe button now so that you don't have to worry about it later when I start talking about how you can help us out by hitting that subscribe button. Right now, I have a Tampa Bay legend, a young man that I know intimately. We go way, way back to middle school. The head football coach of Tampa Catholic, Jeris McIntyre. Jeris, actually think we go back before middle school if you're really being serious about it. Because my people and your people, they all went to the same church forever. So, and ran in those same Peterson Road, lines from way back in the day of old school Keystone, which is now essentially Sickles High School, that area in there. But thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to be here. It's good to see you. We go way back, and I'm happy to be here, man, and be able to talk some football and some other things, man. So congrats to you on your new job. I know you're doing big things, and we'll do big things. So let's go ahead and chop it up.
Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to start back, and I get nostalgic sometimes when I think about a lot of where we all come from and how many of us have gone on to do some special things. And it, like, to me, it's not even about necessarily, people are rich or people are wealthy, but there's a lot of people out there affecting lives. But I want to stop for a minute because we both went to Ben Hill Ben Hill Middle School. Now it used to be Ben Hill Junior High School. We were pretty stacked on those teams. I mean, we had some pretty awesome talent on those teams. I remember just in my time there in traversing my time, the year before me was the Daryl Jacksons and Jimmy Giles and Esau Scruggs and then myself and Ray Spann, who one of the most underrated point guards, come around, played a little football too when he was at TC before he transferred with us to Gaither. And then obviously your year where it was you and Will Glover, who's right now up at Georgia Tech, as an offensive assistant, and the Jackson brothers, Dwayne and Dwight Jackson, who were both phenomenal basketball players, and Dwight, a really, really good football player. Dwayne, he tried his hand at it. Dwight tried to get out there. Yeah, he tried to get out there and do a little something, but I mean, just that time and the amount of competition it was, and people, the idea of having to wait your turn. You don't see that now. Just speak a little bit about how it was to know, like, that succession, and even back to the HCPRD days where those teams would be loaded with talent, and you almost had to wait your turn to be able to get your shine on.
Yeah, I really think it's a new day. First and foremost, we had Coach Glover that didn't play the radio. So
absolutely.
So you knew, regardless if you're on that team, if you're playing 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 minute, he ain't going to play the radio. And I just think from the way we grew up and knowing, okay, he's the man on the team, I'm going to come compete, I'm going to do what I got to do, I'm going to get in where I fit in. You don't see that anymore. It's instant success. And if you don't have it, I'm transferring, or I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to go to this middle school or this high school. I think for us, it was more of a family build with great coaches and just kind of knowing, okay, I'm going to look up, to the Daryl Jacksons, to the Esau's, and when it's my time to do what they're doing, then I'm going to do what I got to do. So you don't see it anymore. You really don't see it anymore at all. But I think that's just the day that we living in. There was a lot of competitors. And as you said, on our team, I think I was in 8th and you were in 9th. And then when I was in 9th, and we had some really good 8th graders, I just think as time went on, we saw the competition, and I felt like the only way we could get out there to actually play and prove what we had to do was compete. And if you weren't good enough, you just weren't good enough, you know?
Absolutely. And those practices, I just remember practices used to always be just ridiculous. My 8th grade year, and it's really interesting because Coach Glover wasn't big on just giving false praise. You had to really earn for him to tell you did a good job. And I got added to the team. Actually, it was after tryouts because I had transferred from Adams over to Ben Hill just because you had no other choice. Like, it wasn't a transfer because you wanted to transfer. It was a transfer because you had to transfer. They told you got to leave this school. And I went to Ben Hill, and it was crazy because I was slated as an 8th grader to start at Adams. I went over to Ben Hill, and actually a blessing that Chauncey Scott, who my cousin had already gone over to Ben Hill and had told Coach Glover, hey, my cousin's coming over here. He's a good basketball player. At least can you give him a chance? And he actually, like, to Coach Glover's, credit, was like, okay, come on over. I was like the extra guy on there. And we used to get in the battles, and he used to like, every day, Esau eating your lunch and Clint's eating your lunch. When are you going to get some lunch for yourself? And it was interesting because that entire year I was getting like, garbage minutes, like, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I wasn't used to that at all. I had always been the dude. Like, I was, and
but you probably never questioned the minutes because you knew when it was your time, it was your time.
Absolutely.
You knew in practice, competing with Esau and Clint, that not that they might have just been better at the time. You know what I mean? Or they might have been grown, more in the system. They were probably grown men, because I can remember vividly, and I think this was your 9th grade year, we played well, and they had Spanky and Drew. Is that the same year?
Absolutely.
We had big Andrew Williams and Spanky, and I'm like, these dudes are huge. And we out there, and I'm like,
shout out to Jermaine Blakely and Andrew Williams. I mean,
seeing them kind of guys, and it's like, okay, I'm in 8th grade, Coach Glover's yelling, these dudes are huge. Like but at the end of the day, you had to compete. I mean, they didn't care that, you was in 8th grade or 9th grade or whatever. You got to compete. And I just think there are some guys like that now. I don't like to be the old school was just so different, because you got kids now that will compete, that could have played, in our era and been able to adjust to the type of coaching that Coach Glover was coaching. But, it was a little different. It was a little different then.
Well, I think here's the thing I would say about that. And I know that we tend to give this younger generation a harder time about it, but I liken it to what I say about LeBron when people say LeBron couldn't have played in the Jordan era. It's like, if LeBron was in the Jordan era, then he would have that type of mindset because that's all he would know. So if you put some of these young men into our era where there was no Snapchat or Facebook or 8 billion different games you can do, like, you remember we were out of the house. It wasn't you were going to sit on the video game all day. We were out the house all day. And so that breeds a different type of mentality that I can't blame these kids for not having, because that's not the world they've grown up in. So I think if you take some of those guys and put them back in our era, they would still be able to play. Where I take exception is when you start seeing some of these best in the Bay, best in the county ever things, like people just automatically go to this new era kid because they've been able to achieve more. And I want to segue a little bit into recruiting, because I think it's an interesting thing that's happened over the past 10 years that wasn't there when we were coming through. When we came through, you had to have production in order to get recruited. In today's society, you have to have measurables. It's more about measurables than it is about production. You had to be a damn near 1,000-yard wide receiver in our era if you wanted to go off to college at a major Division I. Like, they had to see that potential there manifest itself on the field. Whereas now you see guys with 300, 400 yards receiving, getting major Division I scholarships, but they're tall and they're fast and they have those measurables that colleges are looking at. I know that you're intimately involved in, you've been intimately involved in a lot of recruiting. Just talk about that kind of change in mentality from the coaching standpoint.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, social media, the camps, the coaches and the writers able to see these kids. I think back in the day was more so, okay, what'd you have, 1,000 yards? Okay, how many rushing yards do you have? And you're kind of basing, okay, I'm going to go watch this film, but I see this news clipping on what he had. I think nowadays, with the rivals, with the camps, 7-on-7s, with the IMGs and things like of that nature, they're able to see that guy that, okay, maybe he had 200 or 300 yards, but he looks like T.O. I'm going to take a chance on him before I take the chance on the kid who's actually productive, but might not meet the measurables. So I think a lot of it is just the exposure that they have now in the game and being able to see the kid and not really focusing on what he's done on the football field. So, to the defense of some high school coaches, so some college coaches, they are more so going off of their camp eval. Like if they know a kid didn't have the production, but he gets them to the camp and he looks like I said, a monster. They're going to offer that kid and recruit that kid with 300 yards and maybe pass over that kid who went for 1,000 that didn't come to their camp, and they just kind of seeing them on film that might not meet the measurable. So it kind of, to me, it goes both ways, but I'm more so, what did you do on Friday night? What does the film look like? What does the film look like? What have you done? If you've went for 1,000 yards, like you said, you have probably more often than not had to be a baller to do that. So I'm more so of the old school, show me what you done Friday nights, turn on the film. Yeah, we can line you up and see how you look and see how pretty you are, but I'm about football players. So I'd rather have a guy who, who's productive on Friday nights.
Absolutely. And I think about a lot of what goes into recruiting now. And I think this is the biggest part that it's a big reason why a lot of teams are grabbing talent that don't really fit what they do. And I also believe this is a product of bad decision making on our student athletes' parts. And I talk to them about it all the time. Everybody is so infatuated with the rankings and with where we rank as a team when it comes to recruiting and where we rank as a player when it comes to recruiting, that they're not looking necessarily at fit, which is why you get so many kids going to schools and you scratch your head like, why would he choose that school for his skill set? Because that school comes with a higher cachet than maybe going to another school that fits the skill set. I think about a team like Florida and the Gators right now. If I was an elite level receiver, it would be very difficult for me to choose Florida just based off of the last 4 to 5 years and what receivers have been able to do under the previous regime, which was supposed to be an offensive guru, and then under this current regime, which is supposed to be an offensive guru. They just have not been able to produce the receivers to go on to the next level. Because when you go to a Auburn, when you go to a Florida, you're not just thinking about going to college. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, you should be worried about, getting a college, education." But the reality is, if you're getting offers from Auburn and Florida, you're going to get a college education from any school. You know what I'm saying? So their thought process is beyond college. It's to the pros. And when I look at Florida, if I'm a receiver, there's no way in hell I'm going to Florida. There's no way in hell. You got to show and prove to me. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why you make a great point. But that's why the kid over at Plant City, Mario Williams, I think looking at it, and I talk to some of other coaches that I know all the time about different things like this, and like Mario picking Oklahoma. To me, that's a great fit. He's a hell of a receiver. Explosive, quick, fast. They throw the ball around. Quite honestly, in my opinion, they don't play that high level of defense out there in the Big 12. So I agree. I think that's a great fit. So you make a great point to that. And a lot of times, kids chase the logo, or there's a coach that's recruited them great, really, really well, and kind of convinced them that, hey, okay, yeah, this may be Florida, but we're gonna get you the ball. We're gonna do what we got to do to you. And they're telling 5 or 6 or 7 other kids the same thing, on top of them having those 10 receivers already on scholarship. So I think when it comes to that position specifically, it's very, very, you got to really, really focus and pick the right spot, especially for a receiver and all positions. But I think receiver, with the quarterback dictating who gets the ball and the offensive play call and the offensive scheme and everything, the type of defenses that you're going to be facing, I think that all comes into account when you're picking a school. And like you said, they're looking at the ranking, they're looking at the school, they're looking at the logo. And sometimes a lot of that doesn't matter at all if you're trying to make it to that next level. So
absolutely,
that's a great point.
I think one of the things that's missed is it's okay in this process when it comes to recruiting to be selfish.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it is. Definitely.
You have to be selfish. It's about you and what you're going to be able to do that could set you up either for the next 4 to 5 years of your life, or possibly the next 15 to 20 years of your life. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that people don't take into account. I'll take us for an example. Will Glover went to Georgia Tech. Will went to Georgia Tech, and he was a guy who was probably always going to be a tweener, a running back, or a slot receiver with running back skills, or running back with high-level receiver skills. He was never a true running back, and he'll tell you, it's not like I'm saying something, I'm not being disrespectful or anything. He was never really that guy that was just going to pound you up, between the tackles. There's an opportunity at that time that wasn't necessarily available to him, because where do you go if you're that kind of guy? There was really no place that was touting. Now, if you transport Will Glover into today's football, it's a completely different game for him now, because now he has a role that is actually defined in the game. He's a guy who could get you eight carries, maybe 8 targets out in the slot, and be a matchup nightmare for linebackers. And that's just not what they were doing with backs at that time. And so, you look at that and you say, man, if you're that kind of guy now, you really need to be selfish and pick the places that are going to give you the best opportunity to be successful. I remember when Bruce Anderson was coming out, and he had I knew that he had some offers from some other, decent programs, and he decided to go to North Dakota State. And people were like, how do you go to North Dakota State over, some of these other places? And I'm sitting there going, North Dakota State runs the ball first. They're a run-first offense. I was like, he's a high-level back. They haven't had those level of backs at North Dakota State, not a level of a Bruce Anderson. He steps right in as a freshman and is getting playing time and spends his years at North Dakota State as a linchpin in their offense. He walks away with several rings, and he probably never has to buy a drink in North Dakota. I mean, that's the type of thing that we need our young men to start thinking about beyond just, I get to go to Alabama. How many quarterbacks are going to play? Every year I see so many quarterbacks signing with Alabama, and I go, you realize you're never going to play, right?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And I think a lot of times, like you said, they're chasing the logo. They're not doing the research. It's just difficult. There's so many scholarships. I was talking to a coach last night. I mean, it's like so many scholarships. I mean, you probably have legitimately 1/3 of the football team that's never going to play at the school. You know, so it's a lot of guys that are just there, and it's really about picking the right school and being in the right situation too.
Talking specifically about Auburn, because I know you still hold Auburn in high esteem, and you're all about your squad, and you're really involved when it comes to the recruiting.
Yeah, definitely.
That's going on at Auburn. I'm not a huge Bo Nix dude. Now, I will say that I think he has the opportunity to get better, but I'm not a huge guy. I think it's very interesting. I think people are sleeping on Kalen Newton transferring into Auburn.
Yeah.
He's not coming there just to hang out. Like, he's coming there to try to take a spot.
Yeah, and I looked him up, and I've been doing my research, and it looks like he can sling it and can run. His Cam Newton's brother. I don't know how many years he has left. That's what I was trying to figure out. Is it going to be matched up to where him and Bo have 2-3 years together? But like you said, he's not coming just to sit down. I think
he's not coming just to be on a roster. Like, he's coming to try to compete for a spot.
Yeah. So I think Bo. Yeah, you're right. I think.
Go ahead.
No. I was saying I think Bo had to be a true freshman and playing the SEC West. I think he played pretty good. It was some things that he could have done better, but that's a true freshman. But Newton's brother did look really good. He's got experience. He's gonna, I think, come in and compete. He has it in his bloodlines and everything like that. So it should be very, very interesting to see how this shakes out.
It will, and I'm not 100% sure if he's coming as a grad transfer.
It could be, okay.
Or if he's coming just as a transfer. I think he still has a couple years left.
Yeah,
if he's coming as a grad transfer, there's a better chance he only has 1 year left, because I'm just saying, I follow Kalen a lot more than the average, because football game plan, we do a lot of looking at those mid-level schools, and I like to really keep my ear to the HBCU atmosphere and see what's going on there. So I've been following him. He was in a wide open offense at Howard, where he was asked to be the one-man band. And when you're used to that type of show, you're not going to be intimidated by coming in there and seeing Bo Nix. And so to me, it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be good for Bo to be pushed by somebody that could possibly come in and compete with him. Anyway, so Demarius Davis, the recruit, I think he's out of Texas, the quarterback recruit.
Yes, sir.
I like him a lot, man.
Yeah, I do too.
I think young blood cold, man. I think he's cold, and I think it works out actually perfect, because you get this year Bo Nix, true sophomore. Next year, if Bo Nix is the man, or if he is the man next year, you can redshirt Davis. Now Nix as a senior, most likely if he's the man as a junior, he's out of there as a senior, and now Davis slides right in, and he feels to me like a bigger, more of a passer. Marshall. That's what I compared him to. I was like, he's got those Marshall skills, but he's stronger. He looks more, you know what I'm saying?
He's built. Yeah, he's built. And he played at a high level,
high
level program up in, I think, was it Houston or Dallas?
Yeah.
Texas. But played a high level program, I think North Shore. They just got a guard from his school. So I think he has a chance. I mean, he's like you said, he looks built, like he's
Yeah.
physical, can run between the tackles, can throw it.
He's
Got,
built,
good touch on the ball.
built like a running back.
Yeah,
He's
he
built
is.
like a running back, and I felt like Marshall was built more like a DB because he plays DB.
He played DB, yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, it's really interesting. I mean, when Malzahn gets the right guy behind center, it normally ends up in Auburn in a championship game. Like, that's usually what happens.
Yeah, it
like,
does. And I think, like I said, with Bo, he has some growing pains, but we'll see what he can do with Newton, with the kid that like you were talking about, he just got committed. He'll have some options on the Plains here, and I think he'll coach him up well. They're recruiting well around the guys, so that's going to help, with the guys up front and defense and some of the receivers that they're bringing in. So I think, it should be interesting, but it's always tough, man. SEC West, LSU, Alabama.
It's tough.
It's tough, man. So
what's up with T. Will? Did you hear his
Did you hear his rap? Yeah, he's killing it. I was like, damn, man, I don't know. You might need to go ahead and get back in the studio because damn. Yeah.
I was for a second when he first started, I was like, come on, man. And then he started snapping on that thing. I was like, oh. Yeah. He caught the pocket. Once he caught the pocket, he was on that thing.
He was, man. And he's been at the music deal for a long time. We were he's my former teammate. He's a little younger than me, but he was a hell of a player, great coach, recruiting well, good dude. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, he brought an interesting twist in the college football coaching / recruit because it's rare you got a damn linebacker coach at a high level program that could just spit some bars like that on Twitter and then and let it be, So it was visible.
Make yourself visible, make yourself visible, make yourself approachable. I mean, I think that's the name of the game, and for everybody, especially, and I a lot of what I do, on my channel is just to promote coaches and what we do in our it's no but you have to know. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not all about what you know. Connections, your profile, how you're able to get yourself out there. I was talking to a coach out of Pasco, whom I remember who was coaching with me a long time ago. He's kind of worked his way up to be a head coach in Pasco. And I was like, man, I don't see you on social media. Like, how is that possible? Like, even if it's just you retweeting stuff, your name needs to be out there because parents are just going to think, oh, well, he's not connected. Even if it's not true, the optics these days are things that you really have to be aware of when you're talking about being a high school head coach, and it is of the utmost importance as a college coach, especially in the recruiting realm.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I figured that out. Even as an assistant, you want to be connected, you want to be involved, you want to be hands-on because in this world of high school, getting the kids into school, you want to have the connection with the coaches. You want to know what your kids are doing. You want to know what they're saying on Twitter, Instagram, and all that other stuff that they're on. So it's like it's a very, very important part of just almost everyday society and life. Because social media is almost seems like it's taking over the world with all this stuff that's going on and being able to have a platform and things of that nature, and kids being able to have their own platforms to help get recruited and post things that will help them get recruited, films and everything else. So I think it's very, very important to be active as coaches and also as players if you're active in doing the right thing and what's right. So, you bring up another great point. And I think that it's important for these high school head coaches to be out and be seen, just to know and show what they're doing to help the kids in the program as well as just high school football in general across the country.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting. We grew up playing everything. Multi-sport athletes. I don't even remember a guy. Like, I don't remember anybody that we were ever affiliated with middle school, high school, who only play one sport.
I can't either. And it's funny, early on, I think you brought up Jimmy Giles. I mean, he was a damn offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
And Jimmy played baseball and basketball.
Yep.
And he ended up playing some basketball too. So I think it was almost like you had to. I mean, it's like, okay, it's football season now, but shoot, football season over. I got to play basketball.
What am I going to do?
Basketball season over. Yeah. Am I going to go run track? I'm going to play baseball.
Yep.
I think it was almost like, mom and daddy didn't want you at home, so you got to go do something. Or shit, mom and daddy didn't say nothing, and you see your homeboys. Okay, well, mom, Gene playing basketball. Can I go play? Yeah. Or try out at least. And I think we have so much more with the HCPRD, the middle school sports, just like you said, being outside, hanging out, shooting hoops, riding your bike and everything else. It was just so much more I think we had going on outside to make you want to do multiple things. So I played baseball. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because now you see so many parents who are actively choosing to specialize their kids. And I'm not here to get into what's better or what's worse. But when we start thinking about the amount of kids who burn out because all they've done the entire year is the same sport, and eventually either their muscles fatigued or their body breaks down or mentally they break down, I never felt worn down because it was just one thing to another. It was football season. Literally, and you remember, it was like the last Friday, you had a Saturday game the next day, a Saturday basketball game the next day that you were planning on playing in. And it was football and the basketball, and then basketball, for me, it was in track. And then track went into spring football, and spring football went directly and overlapped into summer AAU. And AAU went right back into football. And not one time did I ever go, oh my gosh, I feel so mentally drawn. Mentally fatigued. It never happened.
No, and I think it was different just because, first of all, the change in sport, you're excited to get to the next sport. So even in basketball, if you're like, man, but I know I got football coming up, or I know I got track coming up. And that's how I was with baseball. I played baseball myself. So it was kind of like growing up, playing baseball, AAU baseball, summer baseball. But once that was over, it was football. And I was excited again. And once, football was over, it was basketball or track or whatever it may be. So I almost think it's better to play multiple sports. And I know a lot of coaches do. I got college coaches that one of my really good friends, Jeris Robinson at South Carolina, he's like, he wants to know, can this DB dunk a basketball? How does he look playing basketball? Can he, is he a defender on the basketball court? Can he play quarterback? Can he play running back, receiver in wildcat situations at quarterback, of course? But they just want to know, okay, if you are a caliber player that can play in a big-time conference, you should be able to dominate if I just hand you the ball in high school. So even specializing in just DB or just receiver in high school, I think college coaches want to see you can do multiple things. So the multiple sports, I honestly don't agree with just playing one sport. If you want to focus on being a quarterback or being a really, really good receiver or an offensive lineman, I understand that. Put all your work into that. But if you're capable and you can hit a baseball, or you can go on a basketball team and really help somebody out with a couple minutes and play in and just stand in shape, do it. Because a lot of times, a lot of these kids are so dang lazy that they don't play the other sport because they want to hang out and get on Instagram and be on Twitter and Snapchat and all that crap when they'll be throwing a shot put or playing baseball or helping their basketball team out with, on defense or rebounding or whatever. Even if you're not a baller, on basketball at Ben Hill, I wasn't just no baller, but I knew Coach Glover was like, hey, I need you to play defense. I need you to rebound. I need you to come out here and compete because you're an athlete. So that's why I honestly played, because I grew up playing with HCPRD or whatnot, but I know we had guys like you and Ray Span and the Jacksons and Will Glove, and y'all were all my boys. So I'm like, I might as well. I'm here. Shoot, I ain't gonna go home every day after school. I'm play basketball at Ben Hill because we got a squad. And I just think that's what a lot of kids don't do now, because they just feel like, oh, well, I ain't the best. So I ain't going to go out here. I just want to go home after school. Well, I don't think we had that option, and in our mentalities, it may have been a little different when it came to playing the other sports. So I like the multiple sport guys, but if you want to focus on being great at one thing, then do that as well.
So for me, I think it's twofold. I understand the value of the other sports and how it helps you in this sport. Mm-hmm. So being a football player, there's nothing that basketball hurts about being a football player.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. At all. Nothing.
There's nothing. Everything that you do in basketball is directly transferable into football.
But one thing, Gene, only thing is, I've had a couple people who feel like I'm a basketball player, so I don't want to come really lift because it might mess up my shot. Mm-hmm. And I've had to have that conversation like, look, son, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, these cats lift weights. They might not be lifting the kind of football weights, but they're lifting some kind of weight. So not to cut you off on your point, but I've had that conversation. I'm just like, look, come and lift, and you can still play basketball. Because basketball, like what you just said, basketball, everything you do in basketball is probably almost going to help you in football.
And you know this, like I played football and I love football, but I'm a hooper. Like, yeah, that was my thing.
I remember that left hand, man. I remember that left hand.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For the people that are watching, if you ain't know, Gene was a baller. Hey, so don't let him fool you. Now that boy could put it in the rack. Put it in the rack.
And I tell people all the time, like I don't even say it to toot my horn, but I will lock a mofo. I went and playing basketball for me was because it allowed me to show the versatility. Like I'm not tall. I'm just tall to regular people. I'm not sports tall. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm 6'3" and some change. And that's not really tall, but I'm out there defending 7 foot, Casey Sanders, and they got me on six games, 6'7" Andrew Williams. At the time, that dude was like damn near 300 pounds in high school. I was 185 pounds. I remember the game. I remember the game where I locked down Mario Levitt and we upset Leto. And people were like, yo, Gene is nice with it. And I was like, it was partly that, but I had a brother who I didn't want to have to answer to if I didn't, you know what I'm saying? So there was all that, but then it was just also the pride. And that's what brings me into my next point. This idea with kids transferring and moving around to try to find a winner. I felt as if there was never a time where we felt bad about not playing on the same team. You look forward to the competition versus I was upset that we didn't play Tampa Catholic more. Like the only time we really got to play each other is in summer stuff, and I was like, I wanted to play Tampa Catholic in football because y'all had Kenny Kelly and Daryl Jackson and you know what I'm saying? Like, and all them boys. And I wanted to go against teams that were good, that had ballers on it, whether it was football, basketball, track. And I wasn't looking to go and stack the deck on one team just so that I could be on a championship team. That was never a motivation of mine.
Yeah. I just think it's a little different now with all this recruiting for college and thinking if I go here, I can get a better look. I'm not playing at the school that I'm at. I just feel like then it was like when you sign up for the school, you're going there. If I'm going to Hillsborough, I'm going to be at Hillsborough. If I go to Wharton, I'm going to be at Wharton. If I decided I was going to go to TC, I'm going to TC or Jesuit or wherever school, I think now is so much, and I don't know where it all started, but I just feel like building the super teams. It could have, came from King James and building his super teams, or could have been from at an early age when you don't play and mommy and daddy say, take me to, I'm going to leave Citrus Park and we're going to go over to Northside, or we're going to leave the Yellow Jackets and go over to Belmont Heights. I mean, that didn't really happen then. I'm sure it probably happens somewhat now at an early age, and I just think it maybe trickles down. A lot of it is the parents. A lot of it, a huge part of it is the parents.
My problem, I didn't mean to cut you off, but my issue is that you're seeing guys who are being successful at one place transferring to another place, and I just don't understand. I posted it. Somebody had said something. I retweeted it with a post that says, "Be a legend at your own place." Like, I never just wanted to be another dude. Like, I didn't want to just be another dude. I wanted to be the man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to be the person that they put on the board that said, tonight we gotta check this dude, or we have to stop this dude. Like, people knew when I got to college, I knew that other colleges were saying, we got to keep this dude away from the end zone, because if the ball goes up, that's a touchdown. Like, I knew it, because that's what happened. Like, anytime it was anything, we got anytime near the red zone, I knew the ball was going up, and it was either I was coming down with it or you were going to pass interference. One of the two. Like, that was a rebound. I knew exactly what to do with it.
Yeah, you're going up and get it. You're going up and get it. And I just think now, and even from high school to college, it's just a difference in mindset. If I ain't doing this, I'm going to go into the transfer portal. If my son ain't starting in 9th grade in high school, and we didn't even have freaking 9th graders playing in high school, I'm going to transfer. So it's a lot of it just comes with the instant success. They want success right now. They don't understand the grind. Just like you were saying earlier, when you was in 8th grade playing against Esau and Clint Moore, and you had to do what you had to do to get up to their level, and when you figured it out, you were right there. But it didn't happen the first day or the second day. So I just think a lot of times, man, these people want instant success. If I'm not starting as a 9th grader, we transferring. If you didn't get this many carries, we transferring. And all that stuff. And I just think a lot of it is the parents, a lot of it is the kids, a lot of it starts in youth football, where you say, well, we ain't doing this, we're going to leave this team and go to that team. I just think it's the dead age that we live in. But there's still core of parents that think like us and say, look, we signed up here, you're going to do what you got to do and make this work. So I don't think it's everybody, but there's a large portion of people that think like that, and I don't like it. I'd rather deal with the people that'll stick true to what they started, and I think that's the best way to do it, because that's kind of how we did it.
Absolutely, and I actually think there's a place for recruiting and doing all of that. I firmly believe in the ability to, and you having an ability to go and scout for the best middle school talent you can possibly find to populate your team with. If that's what you have an opportunity to do, why would you not do that? Once that kid is on another high school team, I cease to care about that kid playing for me. Mm-hmm. I'm only concerned with the kids that are on our school grounds that are coming to play for us. I don't care about anybody else's kids. And that's, to me, that's the part where in high school, when it comes to the recruitment going on in high school, that we find ourselves seeing people with questionable character, because I don't want your kid. I don't want your kid. I don't want you to spend 2 years grooming the kid, getting the kid right, then you ready for the kid to break out, be a star in his junior year, and now the kid transfers over to my school. Now, with that being said, if that kid does that on their own and it's done in a appropriate manner, I'm not going to say, oh no, you transferred, I'm not going to play you. That's
and that happens all the time where kids just like having to be in a better school in a better situation.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like you said, you can't be like nah, but to go actively say, hey, you come here, nah, like because at the end of the day, it's just not the right thing to do. It's not ethical. It's just not the right thing to do.
And you don't want people doing it to you. That's the thing is, if you don't want it done to you, you can't do it to other people. So I'm not going to go over and see a kid at Tampa Catholic and go, hey man, you can come over here. I'm gonna make you a star, or see a kid that plays at Tampa Catholic on a 7-on-7 team and go, man, you never gonna get that many carries over there like that. Coach Mack, he like to run the ball. He ain't gonna throw the ball to you like that. Over here, we doing this thing 40 times a game. Like that's not what I'm built on.
And that happens, and you got
it happens a lot.
Believe it. Yeah, you got fools that believe that junk too, man. I mean, a lot of times people are easily persuaded in situations like whether it be with me or other places. They're easily persuaded to say, hey, do this. Hey, come over here. Hey, nah, man. And I think that's part of, honestly, I don't know, not to say that it didn't happen back in our day, but I think it happens more now, and it makes parents and kids think a little more than it was back then.
I'm gonna tell you what it was back in our day. It was Gaither's arrival with Chamberlain, but I have a lot of homeboys that played on Chamberlain. It's my homeboy saying, hey, yo, you should come play at Chamberlain. And me going, nah, I want to beat your head in. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? That That's no fun. Ain't no fun. Yeah, we gonna play together. Like me and Dejan, we played together on AAU. There's no reason for me to then go and play with him at Chamberlain. It doesn't even match up.
And it would have made sense if y'all went to Chamberlain together to start.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But if you at Gaither and you got your team, your rapport with your teammates and your coaches there, and you trying to knock off Chamberlain, then it don't make no sense for. Hey, I'm gonna come over here with y'all. I'm gonna come over here. It don't make no sense. But
I remember when. Like kind of in middle school, everybody had their like duo. Everybody had their duo. So it was me and Ray in our year. It was me and Ray. We were that duo. And then, like you said, it was Spank and Drew Williams. And then it was Donald Smith, and they had another dude. I forget his name.
Over at Greco, right?
Over at Greco. Yeah. I remember because Donald was like yamming on people in ninth grade.
Yeah, Fat Boy Dunkey. Yeah, he can go.
Fantastic running back too. Running back too. Like, but I remember when Ray told me he was going to TC, and you gotta understand, like we had a relationship that was like we was tight. Like we went to school together. We got in trouble with his mom together. You know what I'm saying? Like when he told me he was going to TC, I was like, dang. Like it literally hit me. Like, dang, that's messed up. But never once did I go, oh, I'm going to go with him then. Like, in my mind, I was like, dang, I'm going to have to see that dude across the way then. It was automatically on. And you just don't see a lot of that now where dudes are amped to play against their homeboy.
These dudes now, man, they'll be friendly. They'll be calling the rival the king and the GOAT and all this crap. I'm like, bruh, what are you talking about? We finna play them. He ain't no.
Yeah, exactly.
He ain't the GOAT. With the GOAT emoji, he ain't the GOAT. You need to hit him in the mouth. Like,
he's a GOAT. He ain't the GOAT.
Yeah. So I don't. It's just different. It's very, very different.
How do you think the rivalry between Tampa Catholic and Jesuit has changed over the years from when you were there to now? Because it doesn't seem to have the same bite as it used to have.
Oh, that's a good question. I really don't. I mean, you still got the nastiness. It's still there. It's definitely still there. So So I really don't know. That's honestly a great question I have to think about. But it's still, it's still there. It's still a rivalry. It's still nastiness in between the two. But a lot of the kids know each other. We knew each other, but we didn't talk. I knew Will. He was, my best friend. But we ain't talked the week we playing Jesuit or close or even 2 or 3 weeks before, But nowadays, these cats might be saying what's up to each other on the gram, like I said, calling each other, and then they're friends, and some of them are relatives and all that. But I'm not hollering at you. I'm not talking to you.
Nah, it's radio silence.
No, just how your mind right, ready to play football, and that's what you're trying to kind of instill. But they, it's a different generation, day and age. Even watching The Last Dance with MJ saying, "Look, I'm not friendly. I'm not going to hang out and work out with the competition." Nowadays, they'll hang out and work out with the competition. LeBron does it. The kids get together nowadays and hang out and work out with the rivals. So it's things like that have changed, but it's still nastiness to it.
Okay, let me get you out of here. I appreciate you joining us. You didn't come directly to coaching, and I remember seeing you around and thinking to myself, like, he's starting to get around football a lot, And then all of a sudden, you were more active, more, in tune. Like, what was the time that made you say, like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. Like, this is where I need to be at.
Man, I think, honestly, I started off like helping out with Unsigned Prep 7-on-7, coaching the receivers and seeing the talent that we had and building relationships and just basically helping and mentoring the kids. So I got into youth football and was a head coach and doing that. And it was just fun, just seeing the kids develop. Still having that rush on game days like you were as a player. So I just think from starting the TBYFL, helping the young kids develop, helping the kids that I coached in TBYFL get to high school and then get recruited to college. I think then I knew, okay, about my second year being a head coach in the TBYFL, like this might be something that I really, really want to do and pursue and help, help young men and win football games. So, it didn't take long at all. It was probably about maybe a year or two after I stopped playing ball. So it was always in the back of my mind, and I had a lot of good coaches, from Dick Vermeil, Tommy Tuberville at Auburn, Gene Chiswick was there, and things like that. So Bobby Petrino was a coordinator of mine. So I've been around a lot of good coaches, and I just felt like when that time came, and I have an opportunity to do something, maybe I'll do it. So, and I'm loving it every day of it, enjoying it. So keep rolling and help develop these young men.
Absolutely. And it almost felt like it was just timing came through so smooth for you to end up back at Tampa Catholic, where the previous head coach was moving on to do some different things, and you were right there to be able to just kind of slide in. And was it that seamless from the inside, or was there a lot of working parts that we just didn't see from the outside? Because I felt like it was almost like, okay, well, he's just going to slide in.
Yeah, I think the timing of it. I think the timing of it with Coach Gregory moving on and trying to keep everything together. Really, really helped. And me hadn't been there and had a relationship with most of the kids or all the kids and the assistants that were still around. And, and knowing I had some type of experience in being a head coach, even though it wasn't at the high school level, and having played, at the level I played at Auburn and Kansas City and being in, NFL Europe and the CFL and things like that, just having that experience to be around good coaches and a lot of different players. And I was already there. I had graduated in education from Auburn University. It all kind of just came together. I guess I would say it was pretty smooth, and speaking with the AD and the principal and kind of seeing if it's something I really wanted to do and things like that. So I think it all worked out. It was a pretty smooth transition.
Absolutely. Again, Coach, I appreciate it. Next time I'm down there, let's make sure we catch one. Good luck this off season. I know that everybody's starting to kind of get back to the point where they're going to be able to start doing workouts again. I know we're up in Georgia. We're going to be able to start working out again second week of June. And even though we don't know exactly what's going on with the seasons yet, good luck with everything. I wish you health and prosperity in that regard. Go out there and beat Jesuit. I know that I have a lot of friends on both sides. So, don't tell anybody I told you that I want you to beat Jesuit, but I've never been a Jesuit fan, even though I've had family members. Dirty Red, that's my cousin.
I was assistant there when he was running up and down the field. He's a great one.
I
wish him the best at UF too.
Absolutely, and even then, they was like, "You gonna throw the shirt on him?" Like, nah, I can't even do it.
Can't do it. Don't do it, man. Don't do it, man. But we working day by day, behind the scenes, just trying to get better and hopefully do what we got to do. So I appreciate it. I appreciate being on, and we got to stay in contact when you get down here, man. We got to chop it up, get up, and wake up. Absolutely.
Give everybody your social before you get out of here.
At Jeris McIntyre is my Twitter and Instagram. So at Jeris McIntyre.
Awesome. Again, Coach Jeris McIntyre, head football coach, Tampa Catholic, Auburn University alum, Kansas City, NFL Europe. Did you hang out in Germany a lot?
I love NFL. I love NFL Europe. I was with the Ryan Fire first season, and I loved it. And I ain't gonna lie. I wish I could get back over there. Hopefully, when all this stuff goes away or calms down. But I loved it over there, man. I did.
I want to take a trip. Like, Germany's on my list of places that I really want to take a trip to because I've just heard such good things about the country. And their affection for us over there, unlike here in the States. They tend to actually like us over there. So
yeah, man. You go over there, you'll love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, that's a good thing. But make sure that y'all are following him. If you're not following him on social media right now, he's plugged in. If you're an Auburn fan, if you're somebody that wants to, kind of keep up with, he has a way of filtering. I don't know how it happens, but he filtering a lot of them guys up there to Auburn, boy. I tell you.
Hey, it's man, a lot. Look, they just stepped foot on campus. And they love it, man.
Hey, what's not to love? It's an absolutely phenomenal campus, man. It's a phenomenal campus, phenomenal atmosphere there.
And you're up there in Georgia, right? So I don't know how far you are away, but man, maybe one of these games we can, on a Saturday, we can link up, man. This fall, hopefully, or next fall, whatever they're gonna have, whatever's starting, and link up, man, and catch a game together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really nothing but a drive. I've never been afraid to get in the car, so I mean, it's not a problem at all. I'm not that far away. I used to be a lot closer, but I'm not that far away because
what city?
I'm going to be in Savannah, which is
Savannah.
East Coast now, but
East, yeah.
Auburn is right next to Albany, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. That's the way I go. Yeah. I kind of go that way up to Albany. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know the route because I go that way a lot when I'm going to Louisiana. When I was living in Macon, I would go and hit through Albany and then burn down. So I'm familiar, but yeah, we'll definitely gotta chop it up, like I said, and figure some things out. I'm gonna let you out of here because I know we're already starting to get up on that hour time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Quarantine Coaching Conversations. Hopefully, as we begin to open things back up, we can get back to the original show, which is our Winging It, and I can start meeting some of these coaches in person so we can have a few beers, a few wings, chop it up about football. But until then, I'll keep on trying to get you these conversations because people need to know that coaches, we're constantly thinking it's not just all about, grunt work and making kids run till they puke or anything like that. The game is mental, and we bring a mental aspect to it. So I love to be able to show that to everybody. You can find me on social media at Gene Clemens everywhere across the board. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening.